Have you ever noticed that most of your life isn't lived from the present moment? It's lived from memory, not the kind of memory that recalls birthdays or where you left your car keys. It's the emotional memory that remembers every disappointment, every rejection, every betrayal, every time you learned that it was not safe to be yourself. Every new moon is said to be a time for setting intentions, making plans, and beginning something new. This new moon is not one of those. This new moon is saying something very different. This new moon is saying stop, stop, stop reacting, stop hustling, stop rushing, stop allowing the past to decide what is possible in your future. Because this new moon in Cancer isn't asking you to create a new life. It's asking you to remember the life that has always belonged to you. Now, do remember that the energy of a new moon is at play or activated for 2 weeks minimum, at least 10 days. So this is what the next 10 days is all about. While I was contemplating this new moon, one thought, continued to return. I kept having the same thought over and over again. And it's about memory. There are two types of memory. The first is conditioned memory. Conditioned memory remembers everything that happened to us. It remembers who hurt us, who abandoned us, who made us feel invisible. It remembers every time we came to the conclusion that I'm not enough. I have to work harder. I have to prove myself. I have to keep everyone happy. That is conditioned memory. And conditioned memory is incredibly powerful because it begins making our decisions for us. It tells us what love looks like, how much success, we apparently allowed to have, whether we speak up or remain silent, whether we trust ourselves or constantly seek validation or reassurance from others. Most of us are under this illusion that we are responding to life. Believe me, if more of us were responding to life, we would be living in paradise. We are not responding to life. What most of us are doing is we're responding to memory, this conditioned memory that I'm speaking about. Okay, now there is another kind of memory. It's soul memory. And soul memory doesn't remember what happened to you because, thank goodness it doesn't, because we have been through many incarnations, many lifetimes. What soul memory remembers is who you are beneath what happened to you. What happened to you yesterday, what happened to you last year, what happened to you in your 30s, what happened to you in your teens. It doesn't focus on that. It only remembers who you are beneath all the occurrences, all the stuff that happened to you. It remembers the part of you that existed before you learned how to survive, before you learned to adapt, before you became who you thought you had to become in order to belong. And if you've been watching my videos lately, you know I've been going on and on about belonging. We do a lot of stuff to try to belong. So I'm going to be sharing the lunation chart in a few seconds, but this is what you need to remember. The sun and moon meet at 21 degrees of Cancer under a very unusual sky. The moon is out of bounds and void, of course. I'm saying of course because the new moon in Gemini was the same story. She's going to be void for about 13 hours. You do not want to be setting intentions under a void moon. Traditionally, this is considered the ideal time to force a new beginning, to plant seeds, to push life, in some particular direction, not this new moon. To me, the symbolism feels incredibly meaningful. The moon, whose nature is to reflect, seems unwilling to reflect the outside world this time round. She wants you to turn inward. She invites you to stop looking for answers outside yourself. She wants you to stop reacting in an automatic way, like an automaton. She wants you to stop living from yesterday and yesteryear, and she wants you to ask a deeper question. Who has been living your life? Has it been your conscious self? Can you honestly say that? Can you honestly say your conscious self is directing your life? Or are the emotional memories you've carried for years writing the story? Okay, so this is the event chart for the new moon in Cancer on the 14th of July 2026. And the moon is new at 2:43 a.m. in the Pacific Northwest here. So let's look at what's happening here. We have the moon and the sun at 21 degrees of Cancer conjunct a retrograde Mercury in Cancer, right? And a reminder that the moon is out of bounds and also void. She will be void for around 13 hours, so well into the next day, the 15th. You can see that Saturn is square. Saturn in Aries at 14 degrees is square, this lunation. And there's a lot going on here as well in terms of Pluto and Jupiter are in opposition. The opposition is going to be exact on the 21st of July. And the reason I'm using astro.com here today is because astro.com allows you to use all manner of asteroids. They have just a wonderful, large library of asteroids. And I noticed that Osiris was conjunct Jupiter. And then noticed that Isis was conjunct Osiris and therefore also conjunct Jupiter. And Horus also is, Horus is the son of Osiris and Isis, and he's also in Leo. So this is worth paying attention to. The other thing that's also going on here is, although in this chart you don't see it, the south node is conjunct Venus. And that tells us that Venus in Virgo is being zapped of is just, as it is, she struggles in Virgo because she's not comfortable in Virgo. It's the sign of her fall. But next to the South Node, yeah, she is really being, there's a lot of information coming through from Uranus here in Gemini, ruled by a retrograde Mercury. What might be happening here is, generally speaking, a lot of information coming in around the home, around family, around your roots, sudden developments in the home front. This is just a general overview, but we will go into your signs now for each, your horoscopes for each sun and rising. But just generally, a lot of stuff coming in around the home that is particularly exhausting, or just it's zapping you of your energy, your motivation. I have heard, by the way, from many of my clients that they are feeling very lethargic, fatigued at the moment. That's a combination of things, but I think that Mars and Uranus were the major culprits last week when most people were feeling tired or zapped. But now this, conjunction, Venus conjunct the South Node, many of us may be feeling, how do I put it, like struggling to find pleasure in things, struggling to find the humor in things, the pleasure in things, struggling to relax. We probably overworking, probably burning out, some of us. I mean, it's a very stressful conjunction there. Okay. And then, of course, the other thing that's standing out for me is the inconjuncts between Neptune and Venus. So Neptune at 4 degrees here in Aries in conjunct Venus here, Pluto in conjunct Venus, and Pluto's in Aquarius. And what this means, whenever you see a yod, like this is a yod, a finger of God, created here by these in conjunct, see a finger of God, a yod, pointing towards Venus, it usually points to a generational pattern. I usually see this in charts with people with very strong generational patterns that needs to be either broken, and as you know, I do offer a breaking the pattern reading, or interrupted. And what we're looking at here is whatever you're trying to achieve at this time requires a different approach. Don't do things the way you normally do things. But again, a reminder that Mercury is retrograde. This is, generally speaking, not the best time to start anything new. There are certain things that you should be starting while Mercury is retrograde. But just generally, this is not the time to start. Okay. There is an ancient Egyptian myth that has stayed with me while I've been reflecting on this new moon. So I think it's a message here that I have to share. So the stories of Osiris and Isis and Horus. Now, Osiris was the benevolent first king of Egypt, like a mythical Egypt. And he was a god. He was the god of agriculture. And he was benevolent and, much loved by the people. And he was married to Isis, who was the goddess of magic. But she was also his sister. They were very much like twin souls. His brother, though, Set, was the god of chaos, and he was driven by jealousy, and he murdered Osiris. He cut his body up into pieces and scattered those pieces across the land. Interestingly enough, he cut Osiris's body up into 14 pieces. And of course, this new moon is on the 14th of July. It was an attempt to ensure that Osiris could never be made whole again. That's why he cut up Osiris's body. He, of course, underestimated Isis's powers. She was, of course, the goddess of magic, and she journeyed across the land and searched for the scattered remains of Osiris and put them together, and was, managed to bring him back to life, like in an act of reenactment kind of thing, brought him back to life, and through this, was able to fall pregnant with his son, Horus. Now, psychologically, this is probably one of the most beautiful stories ever told, or one of the most important stories ever told. Not many people on first reading think of it as a very beautiful story, but actually, what the story reveals is that life scatters us, life shatters us, life breaks us. We are all scattered. Why? How? Well, not everyone has the most wonderful childhood. So if you have a difficult childhood, if you suffer betrayals, and we all do, losses, if we spend years trying to become more acceptable, and, as we slowly lose touch with our joy, our instincts, our confidence, our creativity, and our voice, we just become like Osiris, fragmented. We need to work with Isis in patiently gathering the scattered pieces until we begin to remember ourselves again. And what does Isis represent in this myth, in the story? If Osiris is the scattered pieces that go underground, because Osiris, by the way, went on to rule the underworld, and he represents the unconscious mind, the shadow. What does Isis represent? Well, Isis represents resilience, She represents healing and transformation, but she also represents the unifying force, unifying the unconscious with the conscious. And Carl Jung understood something. He understood that the unconscious mind is not simply where our wounds are stored. Many of us think that the unconscious mind is a storehouse, this repository of negative thoughts, negative beliefs, negative, trauma. But the unconscious is not simply where our wounds are stored. Yes, our fears, our unfinished stories, all of that lives there. But so does our unlived life. The creativity we abandoned, the confidence we shattered. The unconscious is not merely the repository of memory, it is also an extraordinary reservoir of potential. And this is why true healing isn't about endlessly revisiting the past. This is why it's not about regurgitating the past. It's about recovering the energy that was trapped inside the past. It was trapped inside that event from the past. Recover that energy in order to heal. This new moon forms a square to Saturn, as I mentioned, and Saturn, in this particular case, because Saturn is in Aries and the moon and the sun are in Cancer, is asking, where have you mistaken self-protection for safety? And where have you continued living a story that no longer belongs to you? Those two are very Aries Cancer kind of questions. They aren't comfortable questions, they are liberating questions. Because awareness, and this is where Horus comes in, the son of, Osiris and Isis had a son named Horus. And Horus is identified, I'm sure if you're familiar with Egyptology and ancient Egyptian myths, and if you grew up like I did, absolutely fascinated with ancient Egypt, or if you have recollections of having once lived in a previous lifetime in Egypt, I certainly have, and I actually know someone who has these very strong recollections of ancient Egypt. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, awareness. Horus has always represented awareness. He's represents conscious awareness itself, because Horus, by the way, had one eye. He was blinded in the one eye, so he only had the one eye. And whether we read this literally or symbolically, awareness is where freedom begins. We cannot change what we cannot see. If we're not aware of something, we cannot do anything about it. And we cannot recover what we refuse to acknowledge. And so it made me think of personal sovereignty, because personal sovereignty isn't about controlling life, controlling the world. It's not, like a sovereign controlling your immediate environment. It's personal sovereignty to me is becoming conscious of where our attention has been captured. Like wherever your attention goes, life flows. You've heard of that, right? Where it's about becoming conscious of where your attention has been captured. By whom? By what? So remembering instead of reacting. So before you set intentions under this new moon, I urge you not to. Do not set intentions on the 14th or the 15th of July. You want to wait for around the 16th. I want you to pause. I want you to ask yourself, am I responding here from conditioned memory, or am I responding from soul memory? Am I living from the person life taught me to become, or from the deeper self that has forgotten who I truly am. Because perhaps things like abundance, perhaps abundance isn't something you manifest. It's something that you remember. Before we go and dive into your horoscopes for each sun and rising sign, and they're very short and very generalized readings, okay? Because I do not have access to your personal birth charts. So this is just a very quick readings. But anyway, before we go, if you've begun to recognize that some of the patterns shaping your life may not even belong to you, this is exactly the work that I do in my Breaking the Pattern readings. I use your birth chart as a psychological map. We explore inherited family dynamics, unconscious loyalties, and the emotional patterns that are influencing your relationships, career, and sense of self. My goal in these readings is not to tell you who you are, it's to help you remember, to recover the parts of yourself that became scattered along the way so you can begin living from soul memory rather than conditioned memory. So if this calls to you, you'll find a link to book a Breaking the Pattern reading in the description box. And I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Okay, let's go into the horoscopes. Okay, Aries, Sun and Rising. This lunation is happening in your fourth house. It occurs there in your house of home and family and your roots. And, with a square with Saturn, you may find that there's definitely changes in the home front. I think I mentioned this in my week ahead reading. I think that you are probably considering renovations or changing like you might be painting the exterior of your house, changing the face of your house. There are definitely improvements underway, or you are definitely thinking about them. It may be because Mercury is retrograde that you have started something and a while back and now have gone back to finishing up things. I wouldn't be surprised as well to hear that you are doing work on your basement. That is also a possibility, underground type of work. The other thing that is worth mentioning here is you feeling probably quite zapped at work, quite tired with your daily routine, or your daily routine is possibly, just exhausting you, or you're feeling bored by things and you want to change with your daily routine. There may be some surprising information coming in or has come in over the last few days, but certainly while this new moon is, in play, which is at least 10 days that you can feel this new moon energy. But, the new moon is, how can I say, active for 6 months. But anyway, the first 10 days are when things really become quite clear. So something may happen at work, or some revelation comes through at work. You may receive a surprising communication or become aware of something at work, colleague perhaps. Maybe it is something concerning a pet. We're speaking about Uranus, by the way, and Uranus, it can be a good thing, but it can be a very good thing. It could be something not so good though. With the South Node there, I'm leaning more towards something not so positive happening there regarding sixth house matters. So yeah, your health may be impacted. If your health is impacted, I do think it's something to do with your energy levels. And it could be something like learning that you need to take more iron, there's not enough iron in your diet or something like that. But I don't want you to stress too much about it, but something on that front, okay? All right, Aries, Sun and Rising, let me know if that resonated with you. Taurus, Sun and Rising. So this lunation occurs in your third house of, siblings, your immediate community, neighbors, and your communication. So things that you're also doing on social media. And you got Mercury retrograde there. So I'm hoping that you're not wanting to start anything new. However, it really does depend on your chart, and there's certain things like starting a podcast, which is a very good thing to do when the moon is, when Mercury is retrograde. However, remember that this particular lunation, the moon is void, so you want to avoid doing anything on the 14th and the 15th of July. That said, Taurus, I do think that there's some sort of kerfuffle or issue, maybe with a sibling or a neighbor or someone in your immediate community. It could even be an online dispute. It could be someone that, but it feels close. It feels closer than that. It could be, an uncle, a cousin, some sort of misunderstanding. It may be some misunderstanding revolving around money. Okay, what else is possible there? However, there's other things here to be celebrating. I see that you have done a lot of work on yourself. Um, you are feeling like you're feeling wiser. You are, not necessarily. Let's put it this way, it hasn't been easy for you, Taurus, Sun and Rising, but you're certainly feeling more wiser and more attuned with your like with spirit. You're possibly getting messages from spirit or feeling guided at this time, like you're feeling really guided by your ancestors, by those who've moved on, but guides, spirits. Again, it depends a lot on your own placements. I mean, there's other possibilities here. If your health is, as you haven't been very well lately, it could be that you spend some time in hospital getting some treatment. And creatively, you may be feeling stifled or zapped at this time, exhausted. You may not be feeling very motivated. But I want you to hang in there, Taurus. All of this is going to improve, so don't be despondent about this. I think the joy or what is bringing joy right now is time spent at home with family, and that is what I would recommend you do over the next 10 days, is try to spend as much time with your loved ones. Yeah, Taurus, Sun and Rising. Let me know if this is resonating with you. Gemini, Sun and Rising. So this lunation occurs in your second house of income and self-worth, and we have here a square to Saturn in the 11th house, and of course Mercury is retrograde. It could be that you have parted ways with a group or an association, a group of people. You could have left a online group, for example. You could have you could have actually even left social media, just for example, closed your Instagram account or something, or just decided you're not spending so much time online anymore. Uh, and you're doing this really just to feel better about yourself, because you've probably been feeling like there's just too much comparison and you're comparing yourself too much to others. Or it could just be that you need to do this to just get some work done. Uh, I do feel, Gemini, that you are wanting to be more disciplined in your approach to how much time you're spending online or with a particular group of people. There is coming up, and I'm going to say a few days after this new moon, some news that is probably not going to be good news, but with Uranus, you never know. Some news coming up around property. I'm going to pray for you that it is good news, but it might not be around property because you got Venus there conjunct the South Node, and something might not work out there for you. It will be surprising news. It might be unexpected, but again, it may also result in, because we also have here Pluto opposite Jupiter, and this works out in any number of ways. Usually a lot of money coming in. And Jupiter is ruling the seventh house. A contract is signed, money comes in, for example, you get a mortgage or something like that. But I do feel there is some sort of twist here, some sort of surprise. Anyway, Gemini, keep me posted on this. Let me know if this resonated for you. Cancer, Sun, and Rising. So this lunation occurs in, the first house, your identity, how you see yourself, how you, your how you show up in the world. And just remember that our ruler, because I'm also sun sign Cancer, is out of bounds. So this may be an emotional, intense new moon, but the moon is also void and Mercury is retrograde. So there's the possibility of misunderstandings that are, that's a possibility. The good news is that you are probably working very hard. You've been putting in a lot of work and you're being recognized for your efforts. So you may be, you may be recently promoted or about to be promoted at work, or maybe getting a pay increase. Certainly you are being seen as someone that is a leader or can lead others. And this is all good. This is good news on the work front and for your career for sure. Cancer, I do though think that the chances of you overworking, and I can speak for myself here as well, is very high. You could just be overdoing things at this time. So the planets here that are trying to give us some information or trying to direct us is, of course, this, Uranus in the 12th house here, square Venus here, conjunct the South Node in the 3rd house. Pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to guidance, and try and rest, try and, spend some time, how can I put it? There is information coming through there as well that may not be pleasant around siblings, neighbors, your immediate community, or you find them particularly draining at this time. It just, again, Cancer could be just because you're very busy. Money is coming in. And money's coming in, but there may be an issue with a spouse or a business partner. That is also a probability over the next 10 days. You may be fighting over money with a spouse, but there is money coming in. So if that is all making sense. Cancer, Sun, and Rising, let me know if this resonated with you. Leo, Sun, and Rising. So this lunation occurs in your 12th house, which is the house, of course, of retreat, rest, and doing things, in private, hidden things that you do alone. So you are definitely feeling pulled to spend time alone, to just do your own thing. It's a very creative time for you. You may be focused on just, you may be away, you're on vacation and you're just knitting by the sea, or you know what I'm saying, or writing or painting. You're definitely wanting to time out, and you probably are going to be away, especially sometime over the next 10 days, Leo, Sun, and Rising. I hope that is possible for you because it's a good time for you to be away. Money is probably leaving your bank account faster than you would like. You may be feeling a little low, income-wise, depleted. where is that money going? So, yeah, spending money on, you may be spending money again on retreats, on travel. And this is where you're feeling the pinch. It could also be, again, depending on your birth chart placements, that you want to travel but don't have the money to do so at this time. And information coming in as well regarding a group or your online presence that is, let's put it this way, Leo, Sun and Rising. I hope that you are taking a break from social media. If you do so, it's a good time to do so, because you may not be very happy online at the moment. If you already have an established online community, you may not be liking certain things there, like comments or just basic social media things, you're just not liking it, or you might feel that you are comparing yourself too much to other people online and it's just making you feel less than, it's impacting your self-worth. And so this is a good time to be off social media for sure, Leo, if that is the case, if you just spend too much time online. Anyway, let me know, Leo, Sun and Rising, if this is resonating with you. Virgo, Sun and Rising. So this lunation is occurring in your 11th house of, other people, networks, friends, internet. It's also the house of wishes coming true. And there's a possibility that a wish comes true around this new moon for you regarding groups of people. So if you've been wanting to join up with a particular group or association, or if you've been wanting to make more friends, that is a possibility. However, Mercury is retrograde. And so there may be, down the line, some misunderstandings where you perhaps thought that this particular group was going to offer certain things and they don't offer that, or this particular person that you now have befriended doesn't turn out to be quite the person that you thought they would be. There is some sort of revelation coming around your work, your profession. It may be surprising and not necessarily pleasant. You may have missed out on a promotion, for example, or you may have asked for a pay rise and you didn't get it, and that may leave you feeling unappreciated and also less than, like just feeling like everything is pointless. If that, again, it depends on your birth chart placements. Uranus, I'm talking about Uranus, with a square to Venus here in particular, and Uranus is unpredictable. So although I'm pointing out what is the negative thing, it could be a very positive development. But again, it's the South Node we're speaking about here, and usually something leaves or exits in terms of, conjunction with Venus here, exits in terms of value. It could also, again, something as simple as you decide to just cut off your hair. You have, let's say you have long, beautiful hair and you decide to go and chop it all off. It could just be something like that. And it could be surprising to everyone around you. Okay. So please don't expect the worst in terms of your professional career, but certainly some sort of awareness or awakening around your profession and your career. Virgo, Sun and Rising coming up at this time. What else could be going on here? Mm, if you've been expecting money, a payout, an inheritance, insurance payout, that might come through over the next 10 days. And it will relate. Yeah, it's something to do with your work. So it could be a pension payout that comes through. It could be a severance pay. Yeah, let me know, Virgo, Sun and Rising, if this is resonating with you. So Libra, Sun and Rising, this is your 10th house. This donation, highlights your 10th house, and that is your career. And what we have here is, either you are going to be promoted or have been promoted recently. Certainly you are being seen as a leader at work, and or you may have a contract that your new contract, so you may have started a new job and you are now going to be in a senior position, or again acknowledged or seen as someone with the necessary skills and most importantly the experience. And I'm speaking of course to Saturn in Aries. It's very possible that if you have got a new job or if you have been promoted, that the new role includes teaching or mentoring others. That is a very strong possibility. What else is going on here for you? You may feel just generally, though, quite tired, depleted, like you need a rest, you need to just go on holiday. So if you haven't actually gone on holiday, this is a good time to do so around the new moon time, because this Venus conjunct the South Node is quite depleting. You may want to travel overseas, or you may travel overseas. It may be a sudden trip overseas. Okay. Let me know, Libra, Sun and Rising, if this resonated with you. Scorpio, Sun and Rising, this lunation occurs in your ninth house of, foreign travel, travel overseas, foreign cultures, higher education, publishing, legal matters. And what you have here is, if you are in some sort of legal dispute around work, work matter, then you will probably receive some sort of news over the next 10 days. It could also be that you are traveling and experience, hopefully not, but you may get sick while you're traveling. You may have like a cold or a flu, and you're not getting to do as much exploring, for example, as you would like to. That is a possibility over the next 10 days. Scorpio, Sun and Rising. Hopefully that is not the case. I'm not hoping that for you, but there is some sort of delay, something that is delaying you around your travels if you are traveling. If you are not traveling, then there is the very strong possibility that you are considering some sort of, in your job, considering something to do with teaching or guiding others. It could even be, depending on, it could be something as simple as becoming a dog walker, for example, leading not only people but leading animals, guiding animals, teaching um, teaching with the help of animals. That kind of stuff is coming through quite strongly here. And let's put it this way, Scorpio, Sun and Rising, that it's also you're wanting to do something from home, or something that will give you more time at home. And this will bring you more attention to your career. It's part of your career. It's possibly a new career, something that you're considering. Yeah. Scorpio, Sun and Rising, let me know if this is resonating with you. For some reason, I keep getting visions of animals, dogs and horses in particular. So yeah, if you are watching this in your Scorpio, Sun or Rising, and any of this is resonating, do leave a comment. Okay. Sagittarius sun and rising. So this lunation occurs in your eighth house of, inheritances, sex, death, taxes, payouts, other people's money. So bank mortgages and bank loans, but shared resources as well. So your spouse comes into this, and for sure, if you have, I've mentioned this before in the previous new moon, I think actually the full moon video, that there is a possibility that you have gone your separate ways, you've split up with, a partner or a spouse, and you've moved on. If that has not happened and all is well, then you could be considering a partnership. And this partnership is, but partnership where you are going to be, you're wanting to have more money come in, right? So this person is going to invest in your business. So a silent partner is a possibility at this time. But there could also be money from a spouse. So if you did get divorced, then that kind of thing is coming in. Right now, you may be signing contracts are being drawn up, all of that, and you may be expecting money. With whatever money you are receiving from this, there is a very good chance that you are hoping to travel or you're going to travel. And regarding your career, you are just feeling, again, it depends a lot on your own personal planetary placements. You may be feeling quite depleted, possibly not very enthusiastic at work at the moment. In your career, you may be having doubts about your current career, not sure that you are in the right career. And an astrology reading will always help you with that. But certainly some sort of doubts around your career path, your future. And yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised as well if, there's a difference here between your vocation. So you're probably not certain, you're not sure that you're actually doing what you're born to do. You're not following your soul's mission. And there's some wounding going on around work. So there may be conflict at work with a colleague or a boss. And all of this is making you think about finding your true path. Anyway, Sagittarius, let me know if this is resonating with you. Okay, Capricorn, Sun and Rising. So this new moon brings a couple of things. First of all, it's taking place in your seventh house of contracts, so romantic and business partnerships. So it could be that you are starting a new job, depends on your planetary placements. It could be that you are leaving a job or leaving um, a business partnership or a marriage. Uh, If you are starting a job right now, there is the possibility that you don't have absolute clarity on everything that you need to know. Like you don't have absolute clarity on your role and the functions or whatever. There is something missing. That's a very strong possibility. So there is the possibility that you're surprised by some sort of information within the next 10 days. Okay, so some information comes to light that surprises you. It may be information around um, travel. So maybe you weren't told that you'd be traveling as much, or perhaps you thought you would be traveling more and you turns out you're not going to travel at all. We're dealing here with Uranus, so who knows? It's either or. And Uranus is extremes, so it's a very a lot of something or nothing. So whatever information has been withheld, and not purposefully though. Please, this isn't a purposefully done thing because Mercury is retrograde. It's just, you know, um, whatever's get brought to light there is going to be surprising to everyone, really. They like you might bring this up in a meeting, say, "Well, I wasn't told this," and then they'll say, "Really? Okay." So it's that kind of vibe that I'm getting here. On the marriage front, if your marriage has been struggling, yeah, then this is not the greatest time. It's a contentious time. You're probably not agreeing on things, not agreeing on things around the house in particular. And the vision I'm getting here is of the basement kind of thing and the foundations. Okay. So it could be that you are fighting over renovations, or you are, if, maybe if you're wanting to sell and your partner doesn't want to sell, that kind of thing. It's those kind of conversations that are causing tension in the family, in the home. And what else can I give you? There's just so much going on here, Capricorn, Sun and Rising. Let me just give you another little thing here. There is money coming in. So that's good news. Money's coming in, and quite a nice little lump sum of money coming in, Capricorn, Sun and Rising. So let me know if this resonated with you. Okay, Aquarius, Sun and Rising. So Aquarius Rising, I'm one of you. And so this lunation occurs in our sixth house of, daily routine, job, pets, health. And what do I see happening here? So there's a reward at work for effort, for disciplined action. So if you've been putting in the work, you'll be reaping the rewards for sure. Again, a lot depends on your planetary placements as well. There's a very strong possibility of money coming in from some sort of payout, insurance payout, a loan. It could even be a gift, right? There is a chance of that happening. You could also find that you are contemplating marriage. Please do not rush down the aisle, though, over the next 2 weeks. But anyway, Mercury is retrograde. Do remember that. But you could be talking about marriage, or a more serious commitment, even possibly a business partnership. There is, though, surprising news around children. So if you were not planning on falling pregnant, you might learn you're pregnant. Um, yeah, that kind of surprising news around children, but also your creativity, uh, joy, romance, a lover, you may actually even break up with someone. It depends on your placements. It'll be a sudden departure, okay, if that happens. Okay, Aquarius, Sun and Rising, let me know if that resonated with you. Pisces, Sun and Rising. So this lunation is occurring in your fifth house of creativity and children and fun in the sun and joy and happiness. And certainly there is this, this pull to spend time away, to rest. And I do see you doing that, Pisces. You may have already gone on holiday, but you're still feeling like you need another holiday for sure. Or you need time out, or you need to spend time with your children, or you want to spend time with your children. There is surprising news concerning the home. But it not necessarily news, as in it's more of a surprising development. So what I'm seeing here is you may receive a marriage proposal rather suddenly, unexpectedly, or you, again, depending on your placements, or you separate, or your partner or your, lover leaves you, again, rather suddenly. It's either or because we're dealing here with Uranus. It could be something really wonderful, a marriage, an unexpected marriage proposal, or someone breaks up with you. And yeah, so it's impacting your fifth house there of lovers, romance. But it could be very positive. You could meet someone. Not the best time to meet someone because, Mercury is retrograde and chances of you are not being quite on the same page are high. But again, depends on your placements. And the other thing that I see here, and I did touch on this in another video, earlier video this week, I do feel that you're worried about money. I think you've got concerns around money. Um, Probably because a lot of your money is going towards the home, property, fixing things up, or, renovations, that kind of thing. A lot of money is being used in that way. Okay, Pisces, let me know if this resonated with you. Do leave a comment.